How does crypto, faith, leadership, wealth, how do they intertwine, and do they intertwine?
You said that kind of will refer to me as the crypto guy, just because I've been researching it, hundreds and hundreds of hours of study of it. Not just the obvious big ones, a lot of other projects and mining. I've worked in the media space for over 30 years in production and in management. I mean, leadership is something that is really lacking in our world. One of the biggest things that I always recommend is a couple of books to read, the Bitcoin Standard. And then another one that I enjoy, I think is good, is Thank God for Bitcoin.
Government officials insist we will continue to keep you informed as this story unfolds.
Welcome to the Money Block with Matthew J. Moore, the Bitcoin-focused program that's waking the masses to the fiat money Ponzi scheme. Money is changing, and your freedom is at stake. So stick around and learn how to empower yourself for this new digital age. Now, here's your host, Matthew J. Moore.
And welcome, America. Welcome, world. You are here at the right time, right place, because we are broadcasting coast to coast on BizTV right here in America. And boy, do we have something good for you, crypto newbies, lovers, and experts. This is the place and time to be if you're into that kind of thing. In fact, the topic that we're bringing to the table today, we're going to be looking at how does crypto, faith, leadership, wealth, how do they intertwine, and do they intertwine? Man, you'll be surprised with some of the answers that we're going to share with you today with our special guest. But before we do, I just want to let you know, I want you in on a little secret, okay? I'm going to be giving away a free gift. It's my Amazon best-selling book. It's a digital format, but hey, as a way to say thank you for tuning in, I want you to scan this QR code that you're going to see periodically pop up, probably right about over here. Go ahead, get your phone out, scan that, and that free gift is totally yours. And if you're watching online, be sure to like, subscribe, share, comment, be a part of the conversation because, well, you know, it definitely helps the algorithm. All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring to stage our guest for today. He's somebody that I've known for some time. He's from my home city, Tulsa, Oklahoma. But David Groves, he's the general manager of the station KGEB here in Tulsa as well. I think KGEB's larger than Tulsa, but he's also a leadership coach. He's got some wise things to say about leadership, and he's AKA the crypto guy, even at his place of work. So, David, it's so good to see you today. Thanks for joining me on the show. Man, before we get into the nuts and bolts of things, can you just share a little bit of background information about yourself with the audience?
Sure. Well, thank you, Matt, for having me on the program. It's always fun to talk about some of the things that we enjoy. I'm always interested in talking about crypto. Those, like you said, that kind of will refer to me as the crypto guy, just because I've been researching it, hundreds and hundreds of hours of study of it. Not just the obvious big ones, you know, but also a lot of other projects and mining and so many things. But yeah, so I've worked in the media space for over 30 years in production and in management, and I manage our media network here, KGEB America, which is an international television and media network, and at ORU, and then I'm passionate about leadership studies. Finished my master's in leadership, MBA in leadership several years ago, and I've taught classes at the college level on various topics within leadership, team building, organizational structure, and that sort of thing. And it all ties together. I mean, leadership is something that is really lacking in our world, even though we hear the word a lot. What does it actually mean? What is needed to be a good leader? And I think it all ties together with your integrity, your ability to have strong values and to add value to people, and how that ties together with my faith, and then obviously some of my what started out as a hobby and as an interest, but has really become something probably a little bit more, and that is being a part of the cryptocurrency ecosystem, if you will.
I love it, man. Well, we're going to jump to break here in a minute, but this was a great tease because you got some good topics, and we're going to intertwine them, and you got the experience to back it up. So, guys, stay put, stay tuned. I got a lot of stuff to ask David. We'll be right back on the Money Block. What does it mean to be physically, spiritually, and financially free? The right to life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness, these were the ideas that made America. But what happens to these ideas when America's money becomes compromised? What do you do when the very thing that you're working for day after day is fundamentally designed to enslave you? Whether it was a conspiracy or not, you won't believe what is about to happen in this country. Arm yourself today with the truth and build your life on the foundations for liberty. Rediscover freedom in the 21st century and grab a copy of my Amazon best-selling book, Foundations for Liberty. For just $11.99, you can support this radio show by finding a copy on Amazon or by going to mattjmoore.com. Again, that's mattjmoore.com. Don't wait, because freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Money Block, America's Bitcoin-focused radio show and TV program. We're all over the place, syndicated coast to coast on BizTV. So thanks for tuning in. And I just want to remind you that if you're watching this program, you're going to see a QR code that pops up on the screen. Go ahead and get your phone out, scan it, because that is a free gift for you. All right. Well, today we have a great guest, somebody I've known for quite some time. His name is Dave Groves, and he is a leadership coach, but also the general manager at GEB America, or KGEB, both of them. Is that how you say it, David? Is it both?
Yeah, KGB is the TV station locally.
That's right. Well, and you know what? He's the guy that has been the crypto guy in his place of work for some time. And me and him have always conversed back and forth about cryptocurrency, what's happening in the space. And David, you're no stranger to getting people involved in the space. So, watching your X feed, there's been some comments that you've made about Coinbase and their product base. Mm-hmm. And then, in general, when looking at that or looking at using an exchange like Coinbase, how should somebody consider, if they're brand new to this space, getting involved in crypto? What would be your number one piece of advice? It's not financial advice, but if they want to get their feet wet in crypto.
Right. Well, I think the knowledge is power. I mean, you want to start learning before you spend any time putting any of your hard-earned money into anything. You should learn more about the product, learn more about the process. I mean, if you were interested in stock options, you wouldn't just start buying calls and puts. You would need to learn how it works. And so, for me, there are lots of different things that you can do. I think one of the biggest things that I always recommend is a couple of books to read. The first one is one that you know very well, the Bitcoin Standard. It really lays out kind of an understanding of what Bitcoin does, what it was created for, and kind of the thought process behind the even development of such a thing all those years ago. And then another one that I enjoy, I think is good, is Thank God for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Both of those very good books. Now, those are Bitcoin centered, which a lot of people are like, well, I'm interested in other things. I hear about this, I hear about that. Well, you really need to start with the foundation of understanding what the OG crypto is and does. And then from there, I always tell people, dip your toe in on, start with something like a Coinbase and start learning. They have a lot of learning modules on there. It's very easy to purchase and to get different things. But, again, everybody needs to do what's best for them. And I think that learning is the key. I've spent hundreds, if not thousands of hours researching everything under the sun. And that is a good option. You mentioned Base. So Coinbase created the Coinbase wallet many years ago, and they've rebranded it Base. And their process of things, it's a layer 2. So it means it's built on the layer 1 of Ethereum. And what they're really trying to do is create an entire, app or an entire experience for the user where you'll be able to do things within that. You'll be able to do other things. You'll be able to build and develop things yourself, even if you're inexperienced, to be able to message people. They really want it to become kind of a merging of the social networking elements that we see with a lot of the social media and the idea of this crypto technology and how it can be used. So I just think that one of the best things you can do is listen to shows and watch shows like this, learn, and then when people talk about stuff, go check it out yourself. I will say this, I don't recommend that you just throw things into Chat GPT and ask it what it thinks, because it's going to pull from everywhere, right? You want to really go to the source. You want to listen and read, and you want to pay attention to some really good podcasts and shows like Matt's show.
Well, thank you. I'm flattered, David, and you're part of that equation. But you couldn't have said it any better, because I always tell people, crypto is a vast space. There's a lots to learn. It's always evolving. But if you don't understand the fundamentals and you don't understand Bitcoin first, it's really hard to go down that rabbit hole with other stuff. And, everybody needs a firm foundation. So
That's right.
One of my favorite things about you, David, is, we are both faith-oriented men, and you basically posted a article, I think it was on X, something about kingdom-centric connections. How did you get personally comfortable with kind of bridging biblical stewardship and principles with digital assets like cryptocurrency? I mean, because some people can get scared from it. So what was your bridge?
Well, and you make a really good point about that. And that was, I mentioned the book, Thank God for Bitcoin. How I believe that God intended commerce and money to be, and you go back thousands of years, it really has changed a lot from what I think the intended original idea was, which was, a means of being able to obtain things, goods, services. And, of course, it's evolved into, really, as I tell my kids all the time, to follow the money, right? Money tends to be where it's all about. If you see something going on in our world, wonder what the situation is with the money part of it. And for me as a Christian, it really just came down to this idea of, God expects me to provide. God expects me to work hard, and work when his worth is higher. And he expects me to be a good steward of the things that I have and that I do earn. And so that's where it goes back to the idea of you just don't jump into projects. You don't just throw money into things. You don't just, you wouldn't do that with a car. You wouldn't do that with a house. You want to research, you want to learn. And that's what really being a good steward is. So the biblical principle of taking care of the things that God has entrusted you. And it's not just money, obviously. It's things like, your family and where you work. You should do your very best. You should make your employer proud that you're one of their employees. Because the truth is, I believe that you're doing it beyond just yourself. You're doing this because, this is a time and space that God has entrusted you to be here. So how it ties together, I think, is the more I learned about cryptocurrency, the more I realized, wow, this is really something that is not about centralized control. Much of it is about freedom and the ability to choose, which, going into not without going into politics, but certainly talking about historical, I believe that the founding fathers of the United States, that was a concept that they had. Things early on backed by gold there, and you've gone very deep into that. And I know with your show, you're going to get into a lot of the fundamentals of the early days of our currency here in the United States. But there are a lot of principles that they set up that make a lot of sense for us today. But unfortunately, we kind of live in a world that's kind of moved away from a lot of just true faith-based principles. And so for me, I'm like, well, I can only control what I can control, right? So I'm going to, for my home, for what I do for a living, I'm going to see how I can do things in the good steward way. And so getting more tangible, things that we've done, we created an ability to handle contracts on the blockchain. We were one of the first networks to do that because we wanted the immutability and the ability to get to it and to see it without it being something that gets lost or changed. And then other things that I've done personally is really just try to spend a lot of time learning about opportunities, things from mining to other projects. There's some more kingdom-centric projects that are out there that want to help the church. They want to help small businesses. And so there's a lot of options out there, but, I think for faith and stewardship is really how it ties together and what it means to be a good leader.
Dude, you said it great. But we got about a minute before we got to go to break. And I want to tease this for a minute because I think it's going to be important. And we could talk about it in the next segment. But what is your actual favorite set it and forget it play right now in crypto for, passive income? Is it staking? Is it lending, nodes, or is it something entirely different?
So I do. I have one. Right now, something that I've become interested in is this project called Texit Coin, which is a Texas-based layer one blockchain. So be more than happy to share more about what that is when we come back from the break, for sure.
Yeah, well, and have you experimented with other things like staking and lending as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, staking for sure. It's a great way to create some returns, especially when you look at some of the options that are out there with savings in a traditional sense, very low interest, but you can stake where you can, lock up. For those who don't know what that is, kind of like like you do with a CD. You can lock up like stablecoin, like a USDC or some of the other projects. And what it does is by putting that money in there, you're helping the fundamentals of that project by letting that money stay put. And then in return, at certain points, 3 months, 6 months, a year, you're rewarded with additional, either in the same or in another coin. And the percentages can be really great.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and it sounds like not only have you experimented with some of these methods and techniques to change your financial situation, is it safe to say, just real quickly, that this has changed your life for the better?
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely given me an outlook on the future when it comes to opportunity long term. And I think that, again, though, it's not everyone's a winner. I can tell you that. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been a part of some projects that looked like they were a shoe-in, and they just went absolutely nowhere. So, sometimes it's a little trial and error, but it's fun, and at the same time, it's very educational because you learn a lot.
That's right. There's always risk involved, but it sounds like you've gone and discovered some cool things. We'll be right back and hear what David has to say on the Money Block. All right, guys, stay tuned. AI is here, money is changing, but freedom has never been more important. I'm Matthew J. Moore, the Money Block host on BizTV, Amazon bestseller, and Bitcoin policy advisor. Book my up to 60-minute talk, Redefining Wealth and Freedom God's Way. I'll teach your church, business, or civic group how to secure money, freedom, and faith in the digital age. This is urgent, so I'm slashing my fee from $1,000 to $500. Cover my travel, and I'm there. Scan the QR code now. Spots are filling fast. And welcome back, America. Welcome back, world. This is the Money Block, and this is round 3 of our show today, syndicated coast to coast on BizTV. So, guys, welcome, because we have been having a great conversation about crypto, wealth, faith, leadership. How does it all intersect? And we got the perfect guest on today to talk about that, because he's got a thing or two to say and some experience. His name is David Groves. He's I've known him for a while, and he's with a station here in Tulsa, KGEB, and as a leadership coach, and is just that crypto guy that everybody knows. When he comes walking, they come asking. So, David, thanks for being with us on the show. I know I'm excited to go through the rest of this segment here. We got a whole lot more to talk about. But the last segment, we talked about this idea of opportunity, life-changing opportunities for yourself. Getting involved in crypto has been very impactful. You've made new streams of income, probably seen some great gains as far as your investments go. But what is your thoughts around how this has all changed your life? What can you share with our audience about why this has been so important to you and why you've become so passionate?
Sure. Well, I think that, everybody wants to find a pathway to have passive income. You want to better your livelihood. And so that's where, when you were mentioning earlier about things like staking and mining and different things, there's so much more below the surface when it comes to cryptocurrency. It just depends on what you really want to accomplish. You got to determine what your goals are. You got to determine what's important to you. How far down the rabbit hole do you want to go? I mean, really is what it comes down to. And one of the projects that for passive income that I've become very engaged with, that has been, very specifically good for me in the last year, is this layer one blockchain project in Texas called Texit Coin. And it's a completely in Texas mining operation and multiple mining centers, and really kind of going along the path of a proof of work, which for those of you that are crypto knowledgeable know that's what Bitcoin is. It's kind of a Litecoin clone, and they've just created a really great way for people to be able to be in on the mining without having to do like in the old days when a lot of people tried to get in on Bitcoin mining. It became very cost prohibitive, electric bills and breakdowns and miners and all that. And essentially what you're buying is hash rate. And so you're not investing, you're buying hash rate on a mining project, and then every single day you get rewards in your wallet. You get a cold storage wallet that you can keep, and then it goes up in value. The coin itself is continuing to increase and get added on lots of exchanges. And then there's a network affiliate marketing component of it, really a crowd-funded opportunity that you can optionally take advantage of. And there's many people out there beyond me that are doing really well and making a really good side income by referring and sharing with people about the limited opportunity to get involved in this newer mining right here in the US of A. And if you know anything about the last year, we've seen our government, our administration really become very pro-American and crypto, just development. They want to see us be number one. This administration has been very different than the previous one, and very, very wanting to be the place of, great achievement instead of allowing other foreign countries to do that. So it's really, really a unique opportunity, and I'm happy to, people can reach out to me on TikTok. For those of you that follow me on TikTok, at the Dave Groves, I've done a series of videos, short videos about the basics of crypto. What is a wallet? What is Bitcoin? What is Texit Coin? I've got a whole slew of them that are on there and more coming. And it's just a little short. Here's just a quick educational piece that people can learn. And I'd love for people to follow me and learn more there. And then you can always email me at dave at thedavegroves.com if you want to know more about Texit.
I love it. So what website? One more time.
So my website is thedavegroves.com, DAVEGROVES. And so they can email me at dave@thedavegroves.com, or they can find me on Instagram at thedavegroves, TikTok, same thing. I'm a little bit everywhere.
Perfect. Well, you talked about how this has been an important part of your life, but what is your strategy? What kind of strategy have you incorporated, I guess, into your life, your portfolio? And like I said, we're not giving financial advice, but this is personally what you are doing. What
I've personally done is focused on diversification. So, I at any job I've been at, if they have a retirement 401k, I've taken full advantage of it. If there's a match, taken full advantage of it. Any financial advisor will tell you that. That's free money, that's opportunity, and it's really smart in those. If you have an opportunity to look at, I have taken advantage of large cap funds, being a part of the indexes. That's really done very well. And that's something that it gives you good diversification in the markets. And then a lot of people, will take a different approach. I personally have focused on about 1/5 of my personal portfolio being in cryptocurrencies, and that way, they're very volatile. They go up and down. You have great days, you have low days, and it's a way to also take advantage of this idea of dollar cost averaging. It's what you do in a 401k when every 2 weeks they pull a small amount out and put it in the markets in your retirement fund. You do the same thing as what I've done. Take a little bit out every week or two and to a specific project, whether it be Bitcoin or whatever. And over time, it makes a huge difference.
I always say, if you do it right, the volatility is not a bug, it's a feature. So yeah. I'm a big fan.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, because time really does kind of even that out.
Yeah.
There's ups and downs to the market. You can go back and since the crash of the late 20s and see how many bear markets there have been versus bull markets. It always works out. But over time, short term, not necessarily where you want to be focused.
Yeah. Well, we got a couple minutes before we had to run to break, but you mentioned that at your station, KGEB, that you guys are doing contracts on the blockchain. From a Christian perspective, how far off do you think we are from churches and ministries accepting and using cryptocurrency for donations or functions like that?
Well, I mean, many are already doing it, where you can donate. You can, a lot of higher eds and schools, private schools are doing it. Nonprofits are doing it. And in some cases, it started with people leaving money upon, like their in their will or as part of their foundation. Maybe they had a large amount of cryptocurrency, and they're like, "Hey, I want to give this to my favorite charity." And so there are a number of companies that work with those groups to help them to onboard that. And then, if they're in a position they don't want to hold it, they're going to liquidate it and move it to USD for use. That's become very a growing thing for sure. And then I don't think we're that far. There's some other projects out there, that are looking to do that. We mentioned Base earlier. There's a project that I've become familiar with called Christ is King, CIK. And that is education, and helping churches is really what they want to do with that project. So people can go check that out, and they want to enable churches to be able to exactly that, receive offerings, have an ecosystem that helps them with their payment portal and all that. As we see the ease of it, and that's what the people a lot of times are surprised by, is how quickly, for instance, Coinbase has a debit card. You can go and buy gas with your car using USDC, and it's immediate, and it's no different than using your regular debit card.
So true, so true. Well, guys, we're going to run to break, but before we do, I'm going to remind you, there's going to be a QR code probably over here that you see, and go ahead and get your phone out, scan it, because it's a free gift. It's my Amazon best-selling book, Foundations for Liberty. It'll give you the right mindset, the right principles to prepare you for this new coming digital age, because, hey, I want us all to be sovereign and have a great time decentralizing the world. So go ahead, scan it. We'll see you guys right after this break. AI is here, money is changing, but freedom has never been more important. I'm Matthew J. Moore, the Money Block host on BizTV, Amazon bestseller, and Bitcoin policy advisor. Book my up to 60-minute talk, Redefining Wealth and Freedom God's Way. I'll teach your church, business, or civic group how to secure money, freedom, and faith in the digital age. This is urgent, so I'm slashing my fee from $1,000 to $500. Cover my travel, and I'm there. Scan the QR code now. Spots are filling fast. Alrighty, welcome back to the Money Block, America's favorite and focused Bitcoin radio, TV, we're all over the place program. I want to welcome all you guys back to the Money Block. This has been a great hour that we've had. This is, I believe, segment 4. So we're going to have a lot of fun unpacking the rest of our conversation with the guest today, David Groves. I've known him for a long time in Tulsa, Oklahoma. He is the general manager of KGEB and is a leadership coach. But before I bring him back to finish this conversation, I want to remind you, if you're watching, you're going to see a QR code that pops up probably right over there, and it is a free gift. So get out your phone, scan that QR code, download a free ebook, which is the Foundations for Liberty. It's my Amazon bestseller, and it'll give you the tools, principles, and ideas to succeed moving forward as we go into this new digital age. And, I just want to say thank you. Thanks for tuning in. And if you're watching online, be sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, be a part of the conversation, and be sure to follow our guest when I have him tell you where you can find him. But David, welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the conversation. I want to start with this question here, which is your role at KGEB and Oral Roberts University, because they are related and great places. But you are passionate. You talk about this all the time. You've seen some levels of adoption at the station, I believe, or you at one point, I don't know if they're still doing it now, was mining cryptocurrency to help pay or subsidize student tuition, which I could be wrong, or no, scholarships. Maybe it was scholarships. I don't know. But what's been your role or influence on getting people within your organization and in the college to adopt this new technology?
Well, I mean, it's pretty much just been an educational. Obviously, I'm served as an adjunct professor, and I've taught leadership classes. So it's really more about encouraging people to learn more. It's funny because I'll have students come up to me after a class and they'll be like, wow, I didn't know that you were into, you knew about crypto or Bitcoin. I don't know, maybe it's the gray in the beard. But I said, yeah, and it's all about learning, and it's all about, making sure that you understand it, because your generation is going to be a very unbanked generation. And you need to know all about it because you can help people not get taken advantage of. I hate that. I hate when people are scammed. I hate when people, no matter the age, I think a lot of times older people get blamed and it's the bad rap, but not always. And so I just try to encourage people to learn. And so that's kind of where I would say most of the time the advice I get is somebody will come up to me and say, all right, I got a friend that's interested, or they're buying some crypto or this or that. What would you recommend they read? Or is there an influencer they should watch? That sort of thing. And that's where I generally try to point them in a direction of, hey, like we did earlier, here's some books, here's some podcasts, and realizing that not everybody is, the end all. You really have to take time to learn. And I know it's kind of a boring cliche thing. We've said it 100 times on this show, but it's true. Knowledge is power. Learning will, it's just like it's your job. What do? They send out emails saying, hey, we need to be aware of cyber issues. Don't click on this kind of link, or don't do that, or don't do that. Why are they doing that? Because they're trying to educate you. Because if you don't know any better, you might just click on something, or you might, actually, create some kind of a cyber breach. And, that is always key. I tell people, pay attention and realize that the world is not necessarily a good place for you to, and you've got to be aware of things. And so, it's the whole idea of just being wise.
Yeah, always be on the defense. Well, my experience when I go to speak at schools or colleges, I've noticed that, and I don't know if it's because they just don't have any money, so they're not buying and investing in crypto. But like you said, I'm surprised that you know about crypto, and you're like, oh, is it the white and gray in the beard? It's like, but at the same time, it's like all these younger, highly digitally native people. I'm a millennial, and it's like, I mean, I'm digital, but at the same time, it's like some of these guys that are even younger than me. I'm like, how do you not know about crypto? Has that been your experience?
Or at their age, it's like I've told my grown children at their age in their 20s is, take advantage now of the opportunities at your job, like the 401k and investing. Listen to what they say, meet with your financial advisor there from your workplace that's doing that. Because at 22, 25, 28, by the time you're 48, you could have a really nice amount put away that is putting you on a trajectory. So when you do get in your 60s and 70s, then you can do whatever you want. You have that freedom. And that really is a key thing, is the more you learn, the more things that you make yourself available to and can better yourself. It really does lead back to this idea of greater freedom, right? We all know people that retire and within a year or two, they pass away. Well, that's no way to live, to work your entire life and to have so little time on the other end of it. So I tell people that are young, take advantage of this, realize the amazing opportunity you have, because time is on your side. And that means learning as much as you can. I'm a big proponent of higher education. I think that the more education you get, the better it is for you. And I'm also a big proponent of, learning outside of necessarily your skill set or your natural talents. There's so much out there that when I first became aware of blockchain, I learned all about blockchain, but nobody was talking about Bitcoin. And I was so aggravated that they didn't talk about Bitcoin, 10 years ago when I was in those kind of meetings, because then I would have been so much further ahead of the game.
Yeah, no, I totally see your point. And, it's once you start to understand the fundamentals of how the money system works, what's available to you, you really can start putting the pieces together. So education and being aware and being naturally curious. Naturally curious is like probably the number one thing. Most people just don't want to think about it. And that curiosity is what helps you.
It's true, because think about what coming out of the pandemic, how many people learned about inflation that didn't understand how it worked.
Yeah.
I'm amazed at the people that I've talked to. They're like, wow, I had no idea that if we had more money supply, that would create inflation. I thought I always wondered why a candy bar my mom would say was $0.25 and now it's $3.
Yeah.
Well, that's called inflation. It's not that prices have gone up. It's the value of what the buying power of your currency has decreased.
Yeah.
Because there's too much currency in the circulation. There's been too much that's been created. That's how it works.
Yep. Well, and you are you're a natural leader. You're teaching. You're in front of people. You're leading an organization. Obviously, you got some influence. So thank you for what you're doing. But more importantly, how do you take some of these ideas when it comes to culture and leadership? I mean, I've even seen you post a gem where it says, true success is using the power that God has given us for His glory. Talk to us about your leadership approach, how you manage success, and how you lead.
So, there's a lot of definitions of leadership out there, and we could carve through those. I'm not going to do that. But what I will tell you is I believe that anybody can be a leader. I don't think you're born a leader. I think that is something that you have to develop. A lot of people feel like that they don't have maybe an ability to speak well, or they're scared of public speaking. Well, that's not necessarily being a leader. Being a leader is being not only an example, but it's leading people. So if you are, as I tell young leaders, as you are put into a position of authority, being a manager is not the same as being a leader. Most managers, by the time they're in their mid-30s, have never had a leadership class. They don't even understand the concept. But it really does boil down to this idea of taking what you know and then finding ways to create an environment and cultivating it. I believe that great teams are built. I think you have to cultivate the culture. Culture is so important in any organization. And great leaders, they value the people. They show value not just to the customer, but the people that are within their organization. And when you value people, you send a message to them that they matter and that they matter to what you're trying to do. And then that enables you to more greatly build and cultivate that team. So for me, it doesn't matter if you're leading a group at church, or you're leading a group at work, or you're leading a Boy Scout troop, or you're, a helpful person that's volunteering with an organization. Being a leader is about setting a standard of the way you handle things, working to be calm under pressure, and really handling the challenges without getting rattled by it. And it takes time, and you're going to get it wrong. I look back to when I was in my mid-20s and managing a team for the first time. I had no idea what I was doing. But I took some time to get with a really good mentor. And I really encourage that. That is so key. All great leaders, no matter young or old, they have people that they bounce things off, spend time with. They don't just necessarily by osmosis, become this great person, and then you're all about others coming to you. I really believe that you have to go to those others. It's good to have a mentor, a sage leader that you can say, what do you think of this? But you have to have the humble nature to listen and to actually be willing to change course.
Yeah, those are great nuggets, David. So thank you for sharing that. I wish we had more time to dive deeper, but we got to run to break here. So guys, stay tuned and be sure to scan that QR code that you see on the screen for my free book, Foundations for Liberty. And we'll see you guys in the next segment, the final one on the Money Block. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. AI is here, money is changing, but freedom has never been more important. I'm Matthew J. Moore, the Money Block host on BizTV, Amazon bestseller, and Bitcoin policy advisor. Book my up to 60-minute talk, Redefining Wealth and Freedom God's Way. I'll teach your church, business, or civic group how to secure money, freedom, and faith in the digital age. This is urgent, so I'm slashing my fee from $1,000 to $500. Cover my travel, and I'm there. Scan the QR code now. Spots are filling fast. What does it mean to be physically, spiritually, and financially free? The right to life, liberty, property, and the pursuit of happiness, these were the ideas that made America. But what happens to these ideas when America's money becomes compromised? What do you do when the very thing that you're working for day after day is fundamentally designed to enslave you? Whether it was a conspiracy or not, you won't believe what is about to happen in this country. Arm yourself today with the truth and build your life on the foundations for liberty. Rediscover freedom in the 21st century and grab a copy of my Amazon best-selling book, Foundations for Liberty. For just $11.99, you can support this radio show by finding a copy on Amazon or by going to mattjmoore.com. Again, that's mattjmoore.com. Don't wait, because freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Money Block, syndicated coast to coast on BizTV. We want to welcome all you Bitcoin newbies, lovers, and experts. We've been having a great conversation today, educating and learning about how crypto wealth, leadership, faith, how does this all intersect? And we've had the perfect guest on to talk about that. His name is David Groves, and I'm going to bring him back on the stage here in a minute. Before we do, just want to remind you, hey, be sure to scan that QR code that you see on the screen. And it's your free gift, my way of saying thank you for tuning in and watching the program. It is my Amazon best-selling book, Foundations for Liberty. It's a digital version, but it'll give you the tools, ideas, and principles to hopefully help prepare you for this new digital age and maintaining your personal sovereignty. All right. Well, David, man, it's been such a good conversation having you on. I'm sure you're a blessing at KGEB, and your leadership lessons have been great. As even if we talked off air, you've talked about some really cool stuff. So I want to expound upon that in the leadership realm, which is, what's the single most practical leadership lesson you still use as far as like on a daily basis as a general manager for the station that you're at?
So the number one is valuing people for me. Something that I do that I think is really good, and I've had to really work at this, but for leaders, I encourage you is to take time one-on-one with as many people in your organization. Now, it's tough if you got 150 people working under you, but certainly with your direct reports, I have a little smaller staff than that. I try to go around and spend 10 to 15 minutes every week, just go in their office, have a seat. What are you working on? Is there anything I can do? Is there any way I can help you? Anything on your mind? And that has really, first of all, it sends a message that you value them. Second of all, it gives them an opportunity to share, well, I really could use this, this tool. I could really use a day off. I could really, something I thought of, and I don't know if you've ever considered it, but what about this? And giving them that forum. But it also sends a message that you're not too busy. And believe me, I get being too busy, but it sends a message that no matter how busy you are, that you are taking time to spend some valuable opportunity with them. And, it's always a good thing to ask things. I do this. I'll be like, how's your parents? How's your mom? I saw you got a new dog. Tell me about the puppy. And it just creating some humanness, because I think sometimes there's such a gap between the leadership level in companies and people that are, in the trenches. So I encourage leaders to do that and see how that changes things for you and the people that work with you.
Well, teaching is also part of your equation on what you do regularly. As you said, you're an adjunct professor at Oral Roberts University. How does that impact you and your approach, like when mentoring the next generation? Does it change the way you do things, or you have kind of a different way of doing things? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, so I think it does create, it helps me to understand and learn how best to communicate. And I really love that this generation, Gen Z, they are so really hungry and they want to learn. One of the leadership classes I taught last year, all the majors were in there. It wasn't just business majors. There were a couple of those, but there was nursing students and there were international relations and PR students in there. And they all know that leadership is important and they want to understand the fundamentals, and they also want to know how to do it well. And so it really taught me a lot about also the communication and the styles of how you do that is different based on the generation, and you can't assume anything. And really, especially with Gen Z, you kind of have to make sure you're very fundamental.
Why is that? Why is the fundamental thing?
Because they have they've been raised, they're digital natives, and so they've heard everything. And not all of it has been accurate, and certainly when they think of leaders, they just think of somebody that's the boss. Maybe they worked fast food and they had a manager at the fast food place that just yelled or was stressed out, or maybe they were great. So their limited environment of exposure to leadership. We talk about in those classes, I'll say, give me an example of a leader that sounds like this. And that might have been a toxic leader, or it might have been a challenging leader. And it's always great to hear the stories, because so many of them understood at the time, hey, this isn't the best way to do this, but they also know that they need to respect authority, and they need to be, they're there to work a job, and they got to do what they're being told. But they realized it wasn't necessarily the best way to communicate, or to maybe they saw a better way to do it, but they didn't feel like it was their place to suggest anything. So I think that is, I think that's key. Setting that foundation of, here are the fundamentals, and here's the foundation that you want to have.
So
as a leader.
All right. So if somebody is tickled by what you're saying here, how can they learn more? How can they dive deeper into the content that you provide?
Well, my website, thedavegroves.com, is a good place to start. I got a lot of material, articles on there, things that I've written. You can find me on all the socials. I'm on LinkedIn and X, at the Dave Groves on Instagram and on TikTok. I do a lot more content on both of those, a lot more leadership content on Instagram at the Dave Groves. And then I've got a series of educational videos that I've created on TikTok. Did one on AI, did one on crypto. I've done a couple of others as well on specific, like Bitcoin, and they're quick. They're like 60-second, 90-second. Let me explain to you what this is. What's a wallet? What's a cold wallet? What's a cold storage wallet? I got one right here. I bumped my camera. What is that? And I made a series of videos that are on there that people can share. And I go, wow, I had no idea what this was. And then, I'm working on a book. So if you follow me on the website, you can sign up for my newsletter. I'll be letting you know when we're going to have the digital and the print version in 2026.
That's exciting. Do you know the title of the book, if you don't mind me asking?
I do, but I'm not going to necessarily tell yet.
Okay. Keep it a surprise.
Yeah, it's a working title. Maybe the next time you have me on, I'll have an example and I can share.
Okay. Well, we probably have about a minute before we got to close out the show, but any final last words?
Yeah, I think that we've hit on a lot of things. I think being a good leader means learning. I think all great leaders are readers. They learn. I encourage people to never think you've arrived. I saw John Maxwell last year at an event, and he said something very, very good. He said that the only thing separating great leaders from average leaders is the concept of mindset. So it really comes down to, where's your mind? If you think you can do it and you put the effort in and you take the time to learn and get educated, that's really where you're able to get that catalyst to move forward. So, take the time to learn. If you're interested in the things, especially that Matt's talking about with crypto, stay tuned, listen in.
That's right. Love John Maxwell. Love what you're doing. Guys, go check him out. This has been The Money Block. All the time we have for today. We'll see you guys, same time, same place. Adios.
The opinions and suggestions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants and are not necessarily endorsed by program sponsors or any station, media company, or platform broadcasting this program. This program is a product of More Media, LLC. The information in this broadcast is not intended as investment, tax, or financial advice. Matthew Moore is not a licensed investment advisor and speaks solely from his experience and opinions. All information in this broadcast is for entertainment or educational purposes only. Matthew Moore, More Media, LLC, and the company or platform broadcasting this program is not responsible for the success or failure of any person's investment decisions or purchases. Matthew Moore, More Media, LLC, and the company or platform broadcasting this program makes no and expressly disclaims all representations, warranties, and guarantees with respect to this broadcast and its sponsors. Investing in any market is inherently risky and can be financially dangerous. Invest at your own risk.